With his appearance in the Falcon and Winter Soldier series on Disney+, lots of people are wanting to know what the deal is with U.S.Agent, and luckily, you've come to the right place. In my opinion, this dude is actually a really fascinating character. So, let's break him down. U.S.Agent made his first appearance in Captain America number 323 in 1986, and was created by Mark Gruenwald and Paul Neary. At the time, the Captain America comic really wasn't selling well. In this era of edgy characters like Rambo, the Punisher, and Wolverine, lots of comic fans thought that Steve Rogers was too much of a boring Boy Scout. So in response, Gruenwald basically said, "You want Cap to be Rambo? Fine, but we're doing it my way." John Walker was created to be the anti-Steve Rogers, and since Steve had abandoned the Captain America mantle in the past when he disagreed with the government, Gruenwald wanted him to do it again. But this time, he would be replaced by a new, blindly patriotic character to show just how dangerous that mindset can be. But hey, that's his behind-the-scenes history. What about his in-universe history? John Walker is from a military family. His brother Mike was a soldier and died in the line of duty, though we later found out that he had actually killed himself. Worried that she might lose another son, John's mother begged him not to enlist. But to John, there was no greater honor than serving his country. In basic training, Walker met two folks that are going to be making appearances later in this video. Lamar Hoskins, who would go on to become John's lifelong friend, and the love of his life until it blew up in a spectacular fashion, Callie Veers. Upon returning home from their tour, John and Lamar were approached by a representative of the Power Broker, a shady dude that would give them augmented strength. With their new powers, Walker and Hoskins decided to make a name for themselves in the superhuman wrestling circuit. But John was approached by a sleazy agent that convinced him that he could become the new face of US patriotism instead of Captain America. And thus, Walker became the quote-unquote hero super patriot. But he would only stop crimes if they were noteworthy enough to be covered by the press. To help facilitate this, John and his manager hired a team of goons to commit hate crimes while dressed as Captain America fans. This would help tarnish Steve's reputation and also make Walker look better in the process. Also, I don't have a great place to put this tidbit in the script, but I just wanted to point out that Super Patriot uses an energy sword that is modeled after the Statue of Liberty's torch. I just thought that was neat. While Walker was off doing his own thing, Steve Rogers was not having a great time. See, the government wanted direct control over his actions, and Steve was not about that. As a result, Rogers abandoned the Shield, and the government used that as an opportunity to replace him. Blindly loyal and easily manipulated, John was the perfect candidate to take up the mantle, allowing him to finally get his wish and become the nation's symbol. While Walker became the new Captain America, Lamar was hired to be his sidekick, Bucky. The two of them also led the Freedom Force, a group of ex-criminals that were made into special forces, kind of like the Suicide Squad over at DC Comics. In addition to that, the government enlisted the help of convicted supervillain Taskmaster to put his trademark photographic reflexes to work and teach John Steve's moves. With all this training, Walker actually made for a pretty competent Captain America, but don't count Steve Rogers out. Even though he was no longer Captain America, he still got his hands on this red, white, and black costume, along with a shield made out of pure vibranium, and he now simply went by the Captain. It's a move that was done out of pure spite, and I love it. From here, the Captain America series was kind of divided in two, bouncing back and forth between the adventures of the warring captains. Unfortunately for John, though, he and Lamar were getting tossed around by the government, and they were starting to really resent their new job. It also didn't help that Walker, isn't the most stable guy on the planet and accidentally killed a guy. On top of that, Lamar came to discover that Buck is an offensive turn to black men and adopted the new persona of Battlestar. As a quick behind the scenes, this all happened because Mark Gruenwald didn't realize that Buck was a racist term, but he swiftly got plenty of fan letters to educate him. Honestly though, I think it was a good move overall, and I really dig the Battlestar costume. But man, the duo was not able to catch a break. Some of the goons that Walker had hired during his Super Patriot days went deeper into crime, trying to lash back at him. They even outed John's identity on live TV, making his family prime targets for domestic terrorists. A heavily armed hate group tried to hang Walker and even went so far as to kill his parents right in front of him, causing John to break out into a violent rage, break free from his bonds, and slaughter a lot of them. On top of that, he tracked down the old hired guns that outed his identity and murdered them in fiery vengeance. Needless to say, this killing spree resulted in him being fired as Captain America, but like, get this. So in the middle of that meeting, President Ronald Reagan walked in to thank John for all the hard work that he'd been doing. Now, I should mention that all the Captain America stuff wasn't handled by or was even really explained to the president, especially all the recent killings. So in an attempt to save face and not embarrass themselves in front of the president, the committee just let Walker keep the position. That being said, John didn't see himself as being worthy of the shield, and he handed the mantle back to Steve Rogers. But in the middle of the official ceremony, Walker was assassinated. Just kidding. He actually faked his death so that he could work as a secret agent for the United States. A U.S. agent, if you will. In order to have better control over Walker and not have him linked to his past life, the government put him through plastic surgery, had his memories altered, and gave him the new identity of Jack Daniels. So, wait a second, he went from being named after one whiskey to another? That cannot be a coincidence. The rest of this video is going to be a lot of fun. So you might have noticed that as U.S. Agent, Walker, or Daniels, is sporting the black outfit and shield that Steve used as the captain. Straight up, I'll be real. Even though I read through a ton of comics as research for this video, I couldn't find an official explanation for how he or the government got their hands on Steve's old gear. And all the official guides and handbooks that I read also didn't mention it. So if you know, then please politely tell me about it down there in the comments below. Anyway, U.S. Agent's first assignment was being made the leader of the West Coast Avengers, which naturally put him in conflict with its then current leader, Hawkeye. Outraged, Clint left in frustration and ended up becoming the leader of the Great Lakes Avengers. But ever since that moment, Hawkeye and U.S. Agent have hated each other. But if I'm going to be honest, even though U.S. Agent was a prominent member of the team, he really didn't do much in the West Coast Avengers, mostly just existing to be the straight-laced, hard-ass leader and cause conflict as he butted heads with his teammates. That's why it's no real surprise that once the United Nations pulled their involvement with the team and he wasn't forced to be there, U.S. Agent was voted to be moved off of active duty, and then he just straight up quit in protest. Not too long after, U.S. Agent had his memories properly restored, so thank God I can stop referring to him as Jack Daniels. That was pretty dumb. But still, Walker was more or less a government lapdog and was tasked with killing Spider-Woman on their behalf. He ultimately couldn't do it though, but he had enough character growth that he was seen as being redeemed in the eyes of his former teammates, which earned him his way back onto active status on the team. Well, that is until the main East Coast group got fed up with all the West Coast's constant shenanigans and then just shut the team down altogether. In typical angry Walker fashion, John quit the superhero game altogether and threw his costume and shield into the Hudson River. But that shield is like on the cheap end, a few $1 million in vibranium. Don't just throw it in the damn river, John. That was really bad timing though, because a bunch of his other disgruntled teammates were like, screw you East Coast, we're gonna go make our own superhero team and we're gonna be cool and extreme because this is the 90s and that's what everything is all about now. This group went on to form ForceWorks, which John was a founding member of. But without a costume, he had a new outfit designed by Tony Stark, complete with a cool energy shield. So ForceWorks' entire thing was using a combination of Iron Man's technology and Scarlet Witch's hex magic to predict crimes that the team could then act on. But if I'm going to be totally honest, the series was super 90s and is best left forgotten. I mean, it only lasted a couple of years anyway, with the team disbanding almost as fast as it was formed, so it's not like there was much to talk about in the first place. The closure of ForceWorks, though, brought an end to U.S. Agent being a prominent figure in the Marvel Universe, and he fell into an extremely common fate that most lesser-known characters suffer. Marvel kind of didn't know what to do with U.S. Agent, so they kept throwing him into different roles, desperately trying to find something that would stick. And from here on out, his history is a jagged and hard-to-follow mess, but I'll do my best to try and keep it concise. So at first, U.S. Agent went back to the classic costume, but now with an eagle shield, and he was made the leader of a team called the Jury, which is an extremely forgettable group of mercenaries. Then he was made the leader of the Superhuman Tactical Activities Response Squad, or STARS for short, a police force that oversees superhuman crime and imprisonment. He also got this new Judge Dredd style costume with a shield that's half metal, half energy, so it's a good compromise. And he also got this new lightsaber in the form of this energy baton that also had this scene that's like straight out of The Phantom Menace. Walker's ex-girlfriend, Callie Veers, was put onto Stars in a leadership position, but in all actuality, she was working as an undercover triple agent, working for S.H.I.E.L.D. in order to uncover a conspiracy where the power broker, the dude that gave John his powers all those years ago, was using mind control bugs to take over Stars and members of the United States Senate. It was kind of a dumb book that would basically be the only storyline that U.S.Agent, or even Stars for that matter, would be involved in. And it seems like Marvel then just forgot about them altogether, seldom acknowledging the organization's existence and then dusting off U.S.Agent to be the leader of a new government-backed super team called the Invaders. Except, here's the thing. This group was actually formed by Captain America's arch-nemesis, the Red Skull, who had become the Secretary of Defense under the extremely clever anagram Del Rusk. With the Invaders, Walker unofficially took up the mantle of Captain America once again, and now has a shield that opens up into a star that's engraved with the names of 9/11 victims. The Invaders overthrew the fictional country of Mazikandar, and after being purged of the Red Skull's influence, they fought against a terrorist organization called Axis Mundi. But after the Invaders took them down, losing one of their teammates in the process, the Invaders were disbanded, and Walker was, once again, stranded with nothing to do. For a little while, U.S.Agent worked as a member of S.H.I.E.L.D., who loaned him out to the Canadian superhero team Omega Flight. I also just love how this is like the one team that Canada has going for them, complete with a dude that literally has a big-ass maple leaf on his costume. And to pad out the roster, they added a guy named U.S.Agent. But even this wouldn't last long, because Walker was plucked from the team by Loki, disguised as Scarlet Witch, to join the newly formed Mighty Avengers. And once again, he was a pretty minor character. So when Norman Osborn took over S.H.I.E.L.D., he stripped John of his rank and office as U.S.Agent for working with the group. But mostly because Osborn is a petty little bitch. This wouldn't matter too much though, since Walker got into a fight with a bad guy named Nuke and lost an arm and a leg in the process. Despite the Marvel Universe having super badass prosthetic technology, John didn't get the hookup, causing him to be wheelchair-bound and become the warden of the Raft, New York's metahuman jail. But of course, this is comic books that we're talking about, so Walker was back in action after he was sucked into an alternate timeline and had his limbs regrown, because comics. He became the leader of a team called the Dark Avengers, but once again, Marvel instantly forgot about this and the team was disbanded off screen. The next time that U.S.Agent popped up, he was working as a military recruiter and was drafted to join a team to fight the Scarlet Witch, who had become a bad guy, again, because comics people shift all the time. Don't worry, we're almost done, but I need to give you a quick lore dump for any of this to make sense. Okay, so Steve Rogers was drained of his super soldier serum, which prevented him from being Captain America, and so Falcon took over the role, but then Steve was restored back to normal because of this magic kid. This time around though, Steve and Sam decided to both be Captain America at the same time, but then a group of assholes wanted Rogers to have the title. So they tried to hire U.S.Agent to remove the shield from Sam by force until he declined, until it was revealed that they were actually working with Steve. Wait, what? Why would Rogers want Sam to stop being Captain America when he was the one that made him Cap in the first place? Well, because of comic book shenanigans, Steve was turned into a member of the terrorist organization Hydra, but don't worry, he got better. Regardless, under Hydra Cap's influence, John tried to take Sam down, but he got his ass kicked. Afterwards, he got a new position in the new incarnation of ForceWorks, but instead of trying to fight future crime, this version of the group was a government-backed special ops unit that fought back against the robot rebels when a war broke out between artificial intelligence and humanity. Don't ask. Anyway, their first mission led to them defeating a giant robot and a bunch of zombie cyborgs, but then they refused to give the government the intel that they recovered about how to make said zombie cyborgs, and so the team was forcibly disbanded. That finally brings us to the time of this recording, where U.S.Agent is currently rocking a brand new solo series that you can pick up at your local comic shop or digital retailer. So after reading through decades worth of comic books about this guy, my appreciation for U.S.Agent went from to wow, this is actually a really interesting character that I wish was just given consistent characterization. It really sucks that he's been super mishandled for years, and that adding him to a super team almost guarantees that it's going to be canceled not too long after. But if you get the chance, then I highly recommend reading about him for yourself, especially that original storyline where he becomes Captain America. I'm going to have the links to purchase that book both physically and digitally in the description down below, and if you buy through my link, that's actually going to help out the channel. So hey, do yourself a favor and do me a favor by buying the book. But if you liked this video, then why not consider subscribing or even watching another one? And if you liked this, well, good news, I have a lot more Captain America videos. So I'm actually going to link a dedicated playlist to every single one of those. So maybe give that a watch. But anyway, I hope you learned at least a little something new, and hopefully, I'll see you next time.